Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
I'm Richard.
Hi, Richard. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Monday. Here we go. We've got underrated books of the week. We've got the old fart rule where we go back to 1984, 40 years ago, Richard.
Jeez, I was just graduating. I was just out of high school going to college.
You know, Shaka Khan's I Feel For You is 40 years old this week.
Wow.
Just had a little music trivia for you there. We also have viewer mail. And of course, we start off, as always, with our hot book of the week. Richard, you have him on your t-shirt, and here he is on the hot book of the week.
This is like the best year for me because Doom has just finally taken fire. The Iron Man number 150, which has this amazing iconic Iron Man and Dr. Doom cover. It is absolutely gorgeous. That black cover though is really tough to get in high grade. That's a tough one. Raws are selling for about as high as $85 on eBay. I find that surprising. Why? Other than it's a great cover, I doubt the storyline is going to be something that carries on to the MCU.
I think it's the cover for sure is driving this. And that black cover, one spine tick, one color breaking tick, one folded corner is all it takes to knock this book way down. So if it's a super high grade copy, you're going to want a premium for it.
Yeah, that's true. I love the cover. Cover's great. Iron Man in his armor and Dr. Doom in his armor. Is it a fair fight?
Apparently, it's happened before in Supervillain Team Up earlier. The 12-month average for a CGC 9.8 is $589, but the last sale recorded was for $1,710. Does that make any sense to you?
Not really.
Almost more than three times the 12-month average, that last sale. So buyer beware. It's an outlier, I would say.
I would say too. I would wait till there's more data points.
Have you ever read the story?
No, I haven't.
They get trapped together in King Arthur's times. And they have to figure out a way to get back and kind of actually work together. But of course, Dr. Doom being Dr. Doom is doing stuff on the side. And remember when, like anniversary issues were a big deal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Issue 100, issue 150. And then they got really they were really scraping with issue 25, issue 75.
Yeah, they don't run that high anymore. Although, we had Amazing Spider-Man 900 and we had Detective Comics 1000. So they still occur. I just don't think they have the same kind of cachet that they used to have.
They don't. Kids back in my day, you had a storyline with subplots that would slowly build to the anniversary issue. The whole Captain America Mad Bomb thing started in issue 193 and concluded in, you got it, issue 200 for the bicentennial. And you would have things like XMen 200, Uncanny X-Men with the trial of Magneto in his flashy new M uniform.
I hated that uniform.
I think everybody did. I was shocked to see it make an appearance in X-Men 97. But there we are. Let's move on to first of all, wait, do you have this book?
I do not.
Do you want one?
Well, let me rephrase this. I have a run of Iron Man. I don't remember if it goes back to 150. So I may have it.
Oh, okay.
I just have to go. I got a whole long series of Iron Man. I never read Iron Man, really. It never was one of my titles, but I got them. So it may be in there. I just don't know.
Well, you went to a show today. You talk about that a little bit. Why don't we talk about that show and what you got in a segment we like to call Show and Tell? Why do we do that gesture, you may ask, every time we go to Show and Tell? It started off as, like magic fingers. We're changing screens to the Show and Tell screen. And then we just started doing it every week because we're stupid. All right. Tell us where you went today and what you got.
Okay. Jeff Harper is a guy who throws shows in Northern Ohio area and in this region. And he has a show. There's a number of shows through the course of the year. This show always happens here early October. this particular instance of it, and it happens in the same hotel in the Cleveland area. So you get to know the audience, and you get to know the vendors that are here. They're usually the same guys. So I went there and I went to meet Forrest. So we met up. I gave him some of the books you gave me, like from back in when at San Diego days. So he finally got those books. And he and we wandered around and we looked at the different dealers. And again, a lot of the same dealers. I'm getting to be on the first name basis with some of these people. Shout out to Nerd Comics. Eric, our friend from Comics Are Go, was there. Big Al was there. He's one of the guys who does the garage sale comic book shows on Labor Day and Memorial Day. So a lot of the regular guys. So I was wandering around. I brought some cash. I'm not on the hunt for anything, but I brought some cash because you never know when an opportunity will come up. Sure. So I had $240 worth of cash in my pocket, $240 worth of pudding, and wandering around.
No carjackers. Go on.
I walk in. Eric and Big Al are the two dealers I talked about earlier are right there at the door. Talk to them. Forrest is standing right there. Start talking to Forrest. Go to the next booth over. I look up and I saw this book on the shelf. And I'm like, okay, I want to get a good look at it. So I get it.
Tell everybody what it is on the podcast.
I'm sorry. This is Black Man #1. It is a really hard to come by book. There was no Black Man #2. This is a single issue book. It's got this proud African American superhero on the cover, and it says strong, proud, strong, and black.
And colorblind, apparently, judging from that costume.
Yes, it is not a good combo. The green shorts and the red and white striped underpants. Yeah, I'm not digging it. But I've been looking for a copy of this for a while, and every copy I saw was $700.
The one we saw in San Diego.
Exactly. And I just wasn't willing to pay that. So he had this book on the shelf. I pulled down. It's a 9.0 or better. There is just one tiny tick on it. Other than that, it is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to press it, and I'm going to actually submit it because I want. That's a good question. I have not decided yet.
Can I push you to CBCS? Can I push you just a little bit?
You can very, very, very much push me to CBCS, even though I have $150 credit with CGC.
Okay, all right. The Susie Orman in me is saying use that credit. Sorry, go on.
So he wanted $375 for the book, which automatically was just a great price. Only problem is, remember, I have $240 in my pocket. He wanted $375 cash, and so I talked him to $350, and then I realized, oh boy, I just don't have the cash to pay for it. Fortunately, my knight in shining armor in the form of Forrest gave me $100 that he had on him. So now I had 340, and I said, was that enough? And he says, sure. And then so I told him to count it. Well, it was 330. Apparently, I can't do math. And he's like, I just wasn't. He says, well, why don't you ask your buddy for more money? He says, I can't ask for any more money. He's got a wife to feed. So I says, well, you know what? If you're not going to do it, then I guess I'll just have to. No, that's okay. Well, I'll take 330.
Richard playing hardball.
Wow. So what else? If he says no, it's just going to sit there until somebody else. Anyway, so 330.
I would have walked over and been like, 350 right here. I got it. Bye.
I mean, this nice, sharp line. It is absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, God bless the guy, but why do you think he let it go for so cheap?
I don't know.
Did he not know the value, or he must have known?
He must know.
In fact, he's asking $350 for it or $375.
Yeah, he just may not know what the current pricing on this book is, because unlike a lot of other books, this one hasn't really gone down recently. So,
how many known copies are estimated? Do you remember? I think we
I do not remember.
I think we were told there's approximately 500 known copies out there. Don't quote me on that. Don't say you're wrong, John. Just going by sense memory, everybody.
But
Wow.
I was pumped. So I got this book for less than I believe it's worth. And but the only problem I saw I blew my wad on the very first booth. So the rest of the show,
What time did you get there? Did you get there right when the show opened, or?
I was there 10:02.
Wow. So you grabbed that before someone else did. You are, this is your day. Blessed Richard. Richard is blessed.
Yeah, so I was excited, but like I said, I didn't have any more money for the rest of the show, which was I was fine. I mean, I'd rather make one big purchase than a bunch of little books that I don't necessarily need. So
I'm so happy for you. That's a big
thank you.
one for you. That's a, not only did you find a copy, because that's literally the third copy I've ever seen in 50 years of collecting comic books. The other one I saw at San Diego with you, and I think we saw one in Baltimore last year. And
Right.
those are the only time I've ever seen that book in person ever. I still haven't seen that one in person. So wow, good grab.
Yeah, it was a great that made it a great show. I also while I was at the show, I got to talk with Kmart Comics, our buddy Kevin, and he had a great booth and we talked a variety of different topics and a number of other dealers that I walked around. It was more social than it was because I didn't have any money, so it was really more of a social show. The feel from the show from the dealers where it was kind of soft. It was so
Yeah.
far it had been a slow day, and then the Cleveland Browns were playing at one,
Mhm.
which was going to make it even worse.
Yeah, it just
So,
killed it, I'm sure. And
yeah,
Cleveland is a big football town.
right.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, it was a good day. Forrest got some stuff too, so I think
I
we.
have to teach you about pacing on this show. Um, you save that for the last book. You want to blow people away
Mm.
because now show and tell is just going to be lame as crap. Following that. All right, I'll go. Here's my little show and tell. The only thing I have are some slab books. Um, I have Men's Adventures number 28. These are men's adventures featuring manly men, including the Human Torch and Toro. And there's also a Captain America backup and a Submariner backup, part of Atlas Comics's 1954 superhero revival. Lasted 3 issues in Men's Adventures, 3 issues in Young Men, and then each of the titles I think had 3 issues as well, except for Submariner that ran for about a year after this.
Mhm.
But little Red Scare. The commies are coming. Look at all the communists.
Yeah, it's definitely a period book. Who's that? Do you know who the cover artist is?
I believe it's Carl Burgos. Let me see here. Let me get my cheaters. Oh, you guys get to see me with my cheaters. Usually
Look
only me.
away, everyone! Look away.
Uh, it is a Carl Burgos cover. The creator of the Human Torch drew the cover. Um, how did these flame handcuffs work?
Yeah, that's with Third Degree Burns.
I guess. They're effective, but they're no black man. What's your next disappointing book after?
Uh, I got some books when we were at San Diego, and so I was just wanting to show those off. Gun Honey, our buddy over at Titan Comics, hooked me up with a copy of Gun Honey
Andrew.
and Collision Course. Great book, great character. I like complex characters, and I think this is a great book. If you're not reading Gun Honey, there are a number of storylines that have come out, and they always feature a very provocative cover, let's just say.
People are buying it for the complex characters
I'm sure they are.
and
And for they read it for the articles.
the intricate plotting and the stereo reviews.
But this is foil. It's a beautiful foil variant cover. I believe it was available only at San Diego, and so it's in the collection.
Oh, algorithm gods, do not demonetize us. We pray to you. Um, Monkeys, number 3, 9.6 off white to white pages. Little Marx Brothers influence there for the Monkeys. I'm not. I always Dell. What were you doing to the logo? Can we get the logo right, please? It's supposed to look like a guitar.
Looks a little sad.
I don't know why they felt the need to expand the M.
Mhm.
I guess they didn't think people would be able to read it correctly. I don't know, but very high grade file copy, as you can see from the label notes there.
Perfect.
And
Where'd you get that?
I think I got it from the CGC boards years ago, like for like $150 or something crazy cheap like that. And I've got a full run, all 17 issues, but I think about half of those are slabs that are 9.0 or better.
Oh,
They're all file copies. It's not tough. There's a lot of file copies of those Dell books out there. They're getting expensive now, but for the longest time, the market was just flooded with file copies. So not just that, but any Dell comic from the 60s. All right, what's next? What's your last one? Womp womp.
wah, wah. I don't remember if I actually showed this or not. This is also another foil book I got from San Diego. Usagi Yojimbo. This was a exclusive, available only from San Diego Comic-Con. Does not say what number it is. It just says convention exclusive, 40 years. I'm not reading it because it is, I forget how many they actually printed. It may have been 200. But it's one of those books where you had to show up early to get a copy, otherwise you didn't.
Show us the blue in the logo, the foil. We're not catch that light. There you go. There's the foily part.
Yeah, the logo's foil.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't willing. There were a lot of con exclusives at San Diego, but you had to get there early. And you had to wait in a long line, and I'm just not built for waiting 2 hours in a line for a single comic. It's just not worth it.
Is that our last San Diego for a while?
I was hoping you would say so.
It's different for me. I mean, I understand. It's different for me. I live here. I can get my press badge, get a hotel, go down there, stay a day or two and head back. You've got to get on a plane, pay for a flight, pay for a hotel. I get it. We might just go like one day next year, but it's really lost its luster, huh?
It really it wasn't. I mean, this was my first full San Diego Comic-Con, because there's always been qualifiers on previous visits. And it's the first time Hall H has been open. I didn't even get to go to Hall H because I was not going to wait in the lines necessary and get up early enough to actually get a pass to Hall H. Hall H, for those that don't know, is the place where all of the media stars show up. The Guardians of the Galaxy or Avengers or whoever. In this case, Robert Downey Jr. and showing up as Doom. That all happens in Hall H, and it is a in-demand place to be. I just don't know if I am willing to put forth the line waiting effort to get to those really exclusive things. And if I'm not going to do that, then why am I going all the way out to California? I'd rather just come out for California Comic-Con, focus comic book thing, do that for a couple days, done, than do the whole 5 days of San Diego.
I think we should commit to Heroes Con next year.
I'm definitely up down for doing another con. Yeah, Heroes Con. I want to do
Emerald
City,
C2E2. Mm-hmm. I think we should shake it up.
Yeah.
After we pay the new $849 a year StreamYard charge.
Thank you. By the way, those of you who are subscribing and also committing financially to us, the things like that is what we really use it for.
Transition to thank you for being a member, if you are a member, because we have to pay things like $849 StreamYard charges annually for the cost of just $2.99 a month, less than a Starbucks. You get more show for your buck. You get exclusive live member only streams on Thursdays, extra show and tell episodes on Wednesdays. You get to see your name fly by here. And again, it helps us go to shows and to pay for subscriptions and things like that. So we truly do appreciate all of you members. Absolutely. And I have one last show and tell book.
Oh, okay.
Omega the Unknown, number 9, in a 6.0 white pager. What? Why would you have this slabbed? Because it's a
Right.
35-cent variant.
Ah,
One of the
awesome.
tougher 35-cent variants because it was a low-selling book, second to last issue. Special thank you to Steven at Minor Keys Comics for getting this for me. I appreciate it. And it's one of my little treasures because I love a 35-cent variant. I love Steve Gerber. I love Omega the Unknown. Here it is. Thank you, Steven, for
Awesome, Steve.
that. Awesome. As we move on to a segment we call Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
My first piece of viewer mail comes to our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from Bob Davis. Hi, Bob.
Hey.
Gents, help. I just bought a rare copy of Daring Mystery Comics #1 from 1940, only 56 on the census. Ooh, at the latest Comic Connect auction. I paid $6,200 plus, hold on, let me get my cheaters here, $930 buyer fee.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for me. Please don't tell my wife. Did I overpay? Did I get a good deal? Even Steven. I've been collecting since 1977. I've been looking for a copy for many years. Love your show and love you guys. Thanks much, Bob. Love you back. Mwah. Bob, Daring Mystery Comics #1, 9.0 restored is what you have here. Holy crap, #1. #2, holy crap. #3, holy crap.
That is a gorgeous book.
It is amazing. I've again, a book I've never seen physically in person.
Mhm.
Just in context here, Bob, a 7.0 unrestored sold 3 years ago in 2021, the height of the boom, I would say, for $31,200. Okay, that's for a 7.0 unrestored. There are no recent 9.0 comps at all. So I would say, since you paid less than a third for an unrestored 7.0, you did great. You have a restored 9.0. It's extensive, fine, granted, but you paid less than a third for an unrestored 7.0. And the rule of thumb for restored books is what, 40%, Richard?
Yep. And look at
Sounds
it. Look at that cover. That is amazing. I love it.
Now, Bob, it's just you and me on the side. Richard's not here. No one's listening. This is not going out on the podcast, Bob. Did you really want our opinion, or are you just doing a little humble brag here? You want to show off?
I don't care either way. I think it's a great.
I don't mind you showing off. Show off all you want. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Now this is a book where Heritage, or in this case, is Comic Connect, charges a buyer's fee.
Mhm.
And that buyer's fee is a percentage of what the book actually sold for. And you know what? They double dip, and they also have a seller's fee, which is also a percentage. So they're getting twice their money out of this. But sometimes you wonder, is the book worth that buyer's fee? And I think for this case, it definitely is, because it brought this rare book and the seller of this rare book to a market where they would feel more comfortable than eBay, for example, trying to sell something. And it brought you, the buyer, to looking for one of these rare books, brought you both together. And I feel in this case, the buyer's fee, although it is a tough pill to swallow, is something that's worth being paid for a book this rare.
If you were the seller, would you be pissed right now?
I would, if I was a seller, I would have hoped for 10 grand.
At least.
Yeah, I definitely would not be happy.
Bob, when's the last Daring Mystery #1, period? Restored or unrestored? When's the last one come to market? I can't think of it. Good job, my friend. Share more with us, please. Richard, what is your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece is from Rick Bow on YouTube here. And he says, I didn't know you were interested in French or Belgian comic books. Michel Viand. I'm trying to stumble through my French here. Michel
Vaillant.
I don't know. Is it Michelle? It doesn't end in LE, so
Well,
it's in Volsoi. I mean, it's a good series. You should try 13, which is a series about an amnesiac agent. Okay, I'm dipping my toes in here. Obviously, for my butchering of that simple name, my French is substandard. But I find I used to be better at French. I used to be much better, but I haven't used it in a long time. So I'm looking for French comic books in an effort to restore my at least conversational knowledge of French. And if I'm going to do it, it's a great way of doing it. I'm reading books about stuff I really enjoy, racing in that period of time, and through the process, hopefully improve my French comprehension and pronunciation from an F to maybe a D minus. So I appreciate you recommending 13. I will have to look into that one as well. There's such a rich amount of foreign comics that are out there. And whenever I speak to someone who's originally from another country, they mention, we talk about comics, they mention the comics that they grew up. And it's amazing the variety that we just don't get here in the United States. So this is one of those books. So I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about the character and the series.
And you didn't mention Tintin once.
I did not. No, I did not.
When I was a
That's
kid,
a cheap call.
love Tintin. I used to love Tintin when I was a kid. I
What did you
think
think of the movie?
I never saw it. It looks cool. I saw the trailer. It looks cool.
Very Uncanny Valley-ish.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just remember what magazine. There was a Scholastic magazine. It wasn't Dynamite. I don't think it was Dynamite, but some magazine that you used to get when you would order it from the Scholastic catalog in your class. They would run Tintin strips in the back, and from there I went to the library and the Elyria Public Library, and I would check out Tintin compilation books that were translated. And I couldn't tell you a thing about them now, but I remember being a kid loving Tintin. He had a dog, right? Kind of like Sandy.
Right. Right.
Le Arf. My next piece of viewer mail comes from our buddy Mark, who is a member, aka the Quasar Q, on Instagram. Hi, John and Richard. Thought I would throw a question for members only viewer mail. You know what? I liked it so much I brought it to the regular viewer mail. Mark. During a recent members only show, you proclaimed 1983 as the greatest single year for music. Absolutely. This got me thinking, is there a greatest single year for comics? Has there been a year where Marvel, DC, and independent titles together have been firing on all cylinders? Would love your thoughts. Thanks as always for the amazing comic book content multiple times a week, every week. Your fellow Quasar fan, Mike, aka the Quasar Q. Mike, this is a very simple question for me to answer. Absolutely. There is a greatest year for comics, and it is 1986. Dark Knight Returns, Batman reboot, Superman reboot, Suicide Squad reboot, Dark Horse, Concrete,
Yeah.
Marvel, X-Men becomes a franchise with spin-offs like X Factor, and you've got the Mutant Massacre crossover. DC, go back to DC, Wonder Woman gets rebooted. Back to Marvel, The Punisher gets his own ongoing series. Back to Marvel again, Daredevil, Born Again. Captain America gets replaced by John Walker. I mean, come on. This is all in 1 year, 1986. Must I go on? Did I mention The Watchmen?
Yeah. When did Swamp Thing? When did the Alan Moore Swamp Thing?
That started like in 83. So that was a little, but it was still going strong. Alan Moore was still on Swamp Thing in 86. And I mean, I remember working at the comic shop at that time. And just every week there was, I mean, I didn't talk about First Comics and The Badger. And I mean, it didn't start then, but it was all going on. If you want to just narrow it down to things that began in 86, I think I made my case.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you. I would have arguments for 84, for things like Turtles and the variety of other titles. But 86, you're right. There was so much momentum. There was so much fresh ideas. We're not rehashing the same ideas like we are nowadays. And yeah, that was a great year. That I remember 86 being a very busy year for me, because I had money because I had a job, and I had a pull box, and in that pull box, I just said, "Give me everything," you know, first appearances, number ones, give me everything. So I got a variety of books, and I remember really enjoying that period of time because of the stories that came out.
Roach Mill.
I never
All
read,
right.
never read that.
Moving on. What is your next piece of viewer mail?
Yeah, but Concrete's a great book. I really, and something that I have not talked about as a underrated book, but maybe I'll do that here
Love
soon.
some Paul Chadwick Concrete. Absolutely.
Absolutely great title. My next piece is from our buddy Glenn Simpson, and giving us some background information. We were talking about Marvel and DC losing the superheroes trademark. Um, and he says, I thought it was weird that Super Babies, which is one of the books that caused them to lose that trademark, was being blocked by Superhero, when the Superman trademark would make more sense. They literally used to run stories called Misadventures of Super Baby with Toddler Clark.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's slicing that line really, really thin. I thanks for calling that out. I have never read any of Super Baby, so I'm not familiar with it. But yeah, I don't know now that, at least in some instances, superhero is no longer trademarked by Marvel and DC. They had it cooperatively trademarked it. What the effect on the industry is going to be, because you're now able to use that word without Marvel and DC's approval.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't contest it. That's the part that stunned me. My final piece of viewer mail comes from Revolt Puppy. Always nice to take some time to focus on page layout and design and the ways in which storytelling is unique to comics. Revolt Puppy is referring to my breakdown of Jack Kirby's art on Strange Tales 114 last week. So much discussion is around personal style or house styles, or it's too blocky or too cartoony, or the anatomy is off or whatever, without a more nuanced consideration around if the artist is actually doing the job right, setting the scene, giving a consistent sense of space, and getting the panel cadence correct to clearly tell the story. Likewise, I think there's a lot to relearn from classic writers. I often think the sparse nature of modern writing relies too heavily on the artist to sell a character's intent with a silent look, rather than having a small bit of dialogue, or God forbid, a thought bubble, or a caption. Revolt Puppy, what happened to captions? That makes their feelings more explicit to the reader. Sure, maybe a truly talented artist can sell an emotion like an on-screen actor could, but when we're talking about an industry of monthly deadlines, there ought to be a little more leeway in the craft for the reader's enjoyment. I like this viewer mail, Revolt Puppy. Thank you. Think about if Chris Claremont was writing a monthly book, the challenges he would be facing because of editorial fiats. We don't do thought bubbles or captions anymore.
Yeah,
You're Chris Claremont, you're going to jump out of a window.
right. That's a good point. How do they adapt? How do long-standing artists?
That's why you get the Bendis formula, where everybody's snarky and the pages takes you an entire issue to set one scene, and you get like long draw. That book on your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
If you had that comic book, X-Men 140, what is it? 145, 147,
145.
145, and you laid it out. You counted the words in that issue from Chris Claremont, it would be in the hundreds. I tell you, like Storm sitting across from Dr. Doom at the dinner he's planned, at the long table with all the food. There's something evil about this man, yet something stirring inside of me. He's giving me feelings, right?
No, thought bubbles are a great way to have exposition without having it all common knowledge.
How did it become bad?
I don't know. It's it's a part of comics in general, and the fact that they're now outlawing things like that and captions, they just don't want to pay people to write.
It's words and pictures, people. They go together. So Revolt Puppy, you are preaching to the choir. I loved hearing this from you, and that's the frustrating thing about me reading comics now. There could be so much more. There could be nuance. There could be subplots. I mean, I read the X-Men now, and it's like, oh, we're running from one fight to the next. Where are those moments where Storm is crushing on Victor Von Doom from across the dinner table? Goddess. All right, what's your next piece of viewer mail? I'll stop imitating Storm.
Wow, we really just doing the Storm thing. My last piece is from Lee Rogers on YouTube. I recently became a victim in the secondary market while buying a CGC 9.8 slabbed comic. Unfortunately, there are 2 large bends on the back cover that don't break color, thankfully, but they weren't visible in the listing photos. Going forward, I will be sure to ask if a CGC slab has bends on the inner well before purchasing. This experience is yet another reason why I stopped using CGC for slabbing. Wow, is this going to be the new norm where everyone is asking for side pictures of the case to make sure that there's no bend for the comic? It's a sad state of affairs. That it is very definitively a small range of books that have been affected by this, but it immediately puts a taint on every single book for the last 50 years.
Use a taint.
Yeah, it's CGC should have done better damage control on this, because it's just going to be a perennial. It's going to be around for a long time.
Someone's going to get the info, and they're going to find a range of certification numbers on those labels that will be certification number XXX through XXX were part of this problem, and they're going to be like scarlet letters.
Yeah, they're going to be a 9.8, but they're going to sell like a 9.0,
or not sell at all.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for those poor people who submitted their books and is affected by this, and CGC is not willing to take ownership of the issue.
You still going to send your Black Man #1 in?
The more I talk about it, I'm sending it to CBCS. I like CBCS's cases. I mean, I think their cases are.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think their cases are amazing, and this is a book that's a part of the PC, so I'm not concerned about resale value. So even that factor is in it. I just wanted to use my $150 credit.
We are not chills. We are not getting paid by CBCS. We are not getting paid by CGC. So it's honestly our personal experiences. For me, I've sent all my PC stuff to CBCS. I will be honest, as always, when I sell stuff, I do send it to CGC, stuff that I'm going to flip because the premium. But am I part of the problem by continuing to do that? Probably. But I'm not sending anything in now. So
yeah, that's the thing though. This whole issue with Bananagate has really put a damper on my desire to submit books that I want to keep, or I want to get the maximum value to sell. It's a crapshoot, I feel, and I just keep hearing more and more stories about people who have submitted books. I know every episode we talk about this.
I turned my auto renew off and my membership expired.
Good. Mine doesn't do it until May, but that's probably a good idea. And I need to, at some point, figure out what I'm doing with that $150 credit, because
you need to use it. Or lose it. We talked about 1986 being the best year for comics ever. Nostalgia. Let's get back on that train and go back to 1984, 40 years ago, for a segment we call the Old Fart Rule. Sometimes the simplest segues are the best. All right, DC fans, you complain we don't talk enough about them. Here is World's Finest Comics number 300. Look at that cover, Richard.
That's such a classic 80s cover.
Another great anniversary issue from DC from this era. I love that 5th color gold ink they used for the anniversary banner across the top. I think Detective had it for that, Superman 300, things like that. This long-running title featured Superman and Batman team-ups, it kind of is in a weird place in the 80s because you had dark, brooding Batman now. They weren't besties anymore. He was running around with the outsiders. He wasn't in the Justice League. The Batman Superman relationship was definitely strained. So how do you have them in a team up title every month and justify it? This anniversary issue features the Outsiders, the Justice League, the Teen Titans, and heck, let's even throw Sergeant Rock cameo in there for good measure. Seriously, Sergeant Rock is in this as well. Look at this cover. They are absolutely trying to get you to buy this book. If you are a fan in the 80s, you got your Outsiders on there. You've got the Justice League. I'm shocked the Teen Titans didn't make the cover.
I am too.
And Ed Hannigan drew this cover with Dick Giordano. Ed, I'm going to call you out here. See that Wonder Woman figure?
Mm-hmm.
You know that's a complete swipe from Jose Luis Garcia.
Oh, is it really?
Or Jose Garcia Lopez, sorry. Jose Garcia Lopez for the licensing book has a Wonder Woman pose. That is that exact same pose. Nice tracing there, Ed. I like Ed Hannigan's covers, but that's really blatantly copied.
Okay, I can name everybody on the cover except the guy in the orange and brown. Looks like Terra from
Geoforce. That's
Geoforce. Okay.
And he absolutely was related to Terra, I believe.
Okay.
They're from the same vaguely Eastern European fictional country like Slovakia or something like that.
Okay. That costume is a pretty big ripoff of hers.
Yeah. He was one of the Outsiders. He was one of the founding members of the Outsiders. Okay. If you really want a copy of this, you can grab a raw on eBay for $3 to $5. There's a couple of $8 copies out there, but this is one of those titles that just clogs up the back issue bins. Nobody's really going, ooh, I got to finish my world's finest comics run.
Oh boy. Yeah. That's too bad. But you're right. There's the Superman Batman dynamic definitely changed. And, I don't want to say adversarial, but definitely a strained relationship. And
killed the book.
Yeah.
Killed the comic. Yeah. I mean, when they don't get along, how can you have a monthly title where they share? It's like a bad divorce. You're still living together. Moving on to our underrated books of the week. Richard, what is this here?
My pick this week is Black Hammer, #1 from Dark Horse Comics back in 2016. This is a really cool title. I have a copy of it, started reading it, and thought, wow, this is really good. It's a story about a bunch of Golden Age heroes from this universe that they make the ultimate sacrifice and kill the big bad, but in the process, they are thought to all have died. In reality, they're sent to this alternate universe where they're stuck in this town and they can't escape. And but it's a great story by a gentleman named Jeff Lemire, and Dave Stewart and Dean Ormston do the art for the book. Issue #1 is a lot of character development. There is no Black Hammer in the story. You find out who Black Hammer was. Black Hammer was the guy who struck down the final blow on the ultimate baddie, whose name was the Anti-God. That's not derivative at all. But it's that fallen hero redeemed arc where you get a bunch of grizzled old veterans, and they've got to pull it together and come back and continue. So they've been stuck in this alternate place for 10 years, and they finally are. I'm not going to reveal the story, but they managed to escape the area that they're being constrained in. And there are a number of stories that go along with this title. There is the original Black Hammer. There are a number of other books that are derivative from this particular universe. Right now, there's a series running called Black Hammer: The End. So this has been going on for quite some time. So far, what I've read in this story is great. I am going to finish reading this original series and then probably move on to some of the others. But the art is great. It's hard to think of something to compare it to. The story is great as well. We're talking about exposition and building stories in ways that require things like word bubbles and thought bubbles and things that we may not have available as tools today. He uses a number of different kinds of bubbles for the different beings that are talking. So it kind of helps build each of the different individual characters. It's a great story. My recommendation is find a copy of it. This book, you can get trade paperbacks of this book for a really reasonable amount of money. A 9.8, it only runs you at $90 right now, which is down from its peak back in 2022 of 181. But like I said, there are several trade paperbacks available, and you could probably get those even for cheap, since this is a book from 2016. But give it a try. If you haven't read Black Hammer, it's an example of why Dark Horse is a great publisher for those kinds of books that aren't big too mainstream. Let's just call it. If you're thinking things like Umbrella Academy, things like that, it's that kind of storyline.
I think this might be a first for us after 4.5 years.
Really sad.
Both of us have picked underrated books of the week that are from neither one of the big two, not Marvel nor DC. So you have Dark Horse. Mm-hmm. My underrated book this week is a real left field one, Ramna Half, issue 1 from Viz Comics, 1992. This is the classic manga series about a boy who turns into a girl when exposed to cold water, then back into a boy when he's hit with hot water. You know how that happens. What? The reason why I'm picking this is, I don't know if you've noticed, the #1 streaming series on Netflix right now is the brand new Netflix anime based on this manga that premiered this week.
I didn't know that.
Exactly, because Richard, me and you and our viewers in our superhero-focused comic book collecting world that we live in, we tend to forget about books like this that everybody else likes. We're in our bubble. And here's an example. A CGC 9.4 of this sold last month for $225.
Wow.
There's been a single CGC 9.8 sale, and that was for $139 back in January. Believe it or not, a CGC 9.9 sold in March for $1,750.
Wow. And who publishes this?
Viz.
Okay.
There are only 10 9.8s of Ramna Half #1 on the CGC census.
Wow.
Now, why is this underrated if it's selling for so much? When have you seen one?
I cannot say. I have. This is one of those titles I've heard of because you go through the manga shelf in your local comic book shop. You'll see this series. Maybe not #1, but you'll see a manga book, a thick book for this title. I've never read it. I need to go find this the Netflix series and check it out.
It's cute. We watched episode 1 and 2 this week, and living with someone who is obsessed with Sailor Moon, this was a natural. Again, this is like Sailor Moon, where you and I aren't looking necessarily for Sailor Moon comics when we go to the show in Westlake, Ohio. But there are people that when they throw a Sailor Moon #1 up on the shelf for a couple $100, it sells immediately.
Yeah.
But then there are ignorant people like you and I that if we got a run of Ramna Half in a collection, we don't know it. We threw it in a dollar box, right?
Yeah, that's always my greatest fear. Having somebody pick through my box at a show and find all these expensive books that I marked for $1, $2.
It's the thrill of the hunt, right? I mean, now you guys all know about Ramna Half #1. When you go through these boxes, look for it. You might get lucky.
Yeah. Wow. You're right. This is a blind spot for me. It's not something that I normally collect.
I know. I was thinking about all those Eclipse manga reprints from the 80s, like Area 88 that you talked about before.
My Psychic Girl.
Yeah, and even the non-Eclipse ones like Fist of the North Star and things like that. I wonder if those are ever going to catch fire like this stuff has.
I think there's, I hope so. I think things like Area 88 they're a perfect vehicle for our Netflix show. A
Mhm.
bunch of characters that are loosely connected. You can make your own storylines out of it. It's got a common thread of warfare to draw the people that want that kind of thing. Who knows? I mean, I've seen them make shows out of things that I would scratch my head as to why do you want to pick that as, like, why do you need a Craven movie, for goodness sake?
Oh, we'll talk about Agatha all along on the members only stream.
I have to watch that show. Maybe that's something I'll task myself to do here in the next couple.
If you are not a member, you are missing the raging debate going around Agatha all along. So we'll try to talk about that a little bit more this week. Until then, we will catch everybody next time.
Everybody, stay safe.